My dad found these while cleaning out my great-grandfather's house. He used to work for the New York Times as a high-up manager for decades. It would be a huge help if I knew what they were. I contacted someone from the Smithsonian and they were highly interested, but I never really pursued it because my dad wants it in the house for now. I was told upwards of about $25,000 a piece for each of the men walking on the moon article and the Nixon resigning article. I still want to learn more about them and get them into the Smithsonian for a bit. What is this thing? Is it rare and is it valuable? It's a newspaper flong, also called a stereotype matrix or mat for short. It's a temporary negative paper mold made from an impression in a form of set type or other relief matter, such as printing blocks. A flong is an intermediate step used to cast a metal stereotype, which can be used in letterpress printing on either flatbed or rotary press. The flong is then placed in a casting frame, and molten metal is then poured in to make a duplicate of the original set type that was attached to the rotary printing press, where it is inked and pressed onto paper where the image is mirrored one final time for a right-reading newspaper. They aren't super rare, but are becoming rarer as the process is now obsolete in the newspaper industry. Value depends on what it's referencing. Yours may be worth something. Get it professionally appraised to be sure. I watched an auction online, and a small Chinese vase with an estimated selling price of £1,200 to £1,800 just sold for £810,000. I go to this auction house a lot, and they very rarely get estimates wrong. It's bad for business. It's a Wukai fish jar from the Zhejiang era in China. Essentially, it's just a very rare and valuable jar from the 1500s. There were 4 people frantically bidding for it. 2 dropped out once it hit £700,000, but the remaining 2 bid rapidly back and forth until the £810,000 mark. What is this thing that caused them to get their pricing so wrong? From excessive research occasionally watching daytime TV, the experts on the auction programs sometimes hint that Chinese antiques are currently at a premium, as various Chinese parties are trying to buy back their antiques from foreign lands. Think of it as rebuilding Chinese artistic culture. For centuries, their antiques were exported under unfair trade practices, enforced at gunpoint under colonialism. Perhaps this is destined to go back to China and obviously has a greater provenance than the sellers knew. We found this lamp in a house that was built in the early 1950s. The house hasn't been renovated since then. Also, we are in Italy, so most likely it was made and purchased here in Italy. However, the original owners of the house came from New York and designed the house with American details, so it is also possible it could have been. On the outside, there is nothing written anywhere. Who made this lamp? Is it possible to find the missing piece? Do not modify or change anything. Get this light fitting properly appraised. This looks a lot like Murano glass, rather valuable. There is a small but high-dollar niche market for this kind of light, especially original period examples. If this is genuine Murano glass made in the 60s or 70s, it may be very rare and desirable to a collector. A high 3-figure to low 4-figure sum easily. Over £5,000 for a genuine Gino Vistosi Murano fitting on this site. Does anyone have any info on this dagger I received from my grandfather? He was born in the US in the 40s and was in the Navy around the 60s. He told me once he was stationed in Hawaii, I think. He has a really big knife and gun collection though, so this may just be something he got from collecting. There is an insignia on the back that says Berlin. Any ideas? It's a rare World War II German diplomatic official's dagger, one of the most enigmatic daggers on the market today. With minor stylistic differences, it is identical to the government official dagger, with the exception of the crossguard eagle, which faces in the opposite direction as the left-facing eagle on the pommel. Despite the controversy surrounding the identity of the dagger, the piece known to collectors as the diplomatic dagger enjoys its reputation as one of the rarer production daggers that exist. I know this is supposedly a sword from World War I era, but that's all I know. My great-grandpa brought it back from the Philippines after World War I, so I know it's at least that old. It may still be a knockoff though. I'm really not sure if it was picked up on a battlefield or bought at a tourist market. Can anyone tell me more about it? Was it used in warfare, or was it just a souvenir? It's a barong-style sword. It is a weapon used by Muslim Filipino ethnolinguistic groups in the southern Philippines from 18th to 19th century. It's the traditional weapon of local Filipinos even during the Battle of Mactan in the early 16th century. It was a battle fought on a beach in Mactan Island, southern Philippines, between the forces of Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan and local allies, and Lapu-Lapu, the chieftain of the island, in 1521. Magellan, a Portuguese-born commander serving the Spanish Empire who led an expedition that ultimately circumnavigated the world for the first time, died in that battle. I found this sword in my basement. The house was built around 1890s. It has a molded VR right in the crossguard on both sides. It has a double-edged blade measuring 19 inches, and an overall length being 25 inches. Any ideas? It's a 19th century British drummer's sword. Although this sword was designated the 1856 pattern, this particular design of sword had already been carried by drummers since the 1840s. Unlike bandsmen, drummers and buglers were enlisted soldiers and could be ordered to fight alongside their fellow soldiers. What is this wooden spoon-like thing with two compartments? It's over a foot long. I found it at an antiques market in the Chicago suburbs and cannot find anything similar on Google. I have tried double spoon, traditional spoons, and fertility spoons after a friend suggested it since it's rather phallic in nature, but with no luck. What is this thing? It's called an ozhao, a traditional ladle from Kazakhstan. They are gifted when a couple is getting married. The binding at the top is to ensure strength of bond in the marriage contract. The spoon or ladle part is two separate individuals with the shared commonality of partnership. The conjoining portion where two people share their lives with each other, both ladles working in unison. What is this wooden frame with columns of knobs on sliding rails I found in a shop? Each plank slides left and right within the frame. As the tag indicates, the shop owner doesn't know what it is. Any ideas? It's an old balloon mold from the early 20th century. The knobs would be dipped into latex and then were set to let it dry. The shape of the balloons depends on the shape of the mold. What is this thing about the size of a cup I found at the thrift store? It's ceramic with some small holes on the top, and no other accessories are included. It looks like something else should be on top where the small holes are. The top of the handle is concave. Any ideas? It's a shaving scuttle that dates back to the days before running water and indoor plumbing. The way it works is that the wider bottom section is filled with hot water, and soap is kept in the vented section above. This allows steam to warm up and soften the soap. The reason for the wider spout is not only for ease of filling, but also to allow the shaver to soak their shave brush in the warm water. What are these weird semicircle wires with various beads on a wooden plank found in an old house? It's about 12 inches long, 1 inch thick, and 7 inches tall. It works kinda like an abacus, but circular and not with 10. The base and inner beads are wooden, and I think the outer beads are plastic and metal. What is it? Leave us a comment. Thanks for watching. Let's make life fun.